Hello, I'm Tony Lloyd Cohen with TeaPartyHD, and today we're talking with Phil Valentine. Phil is the Westwood One syndicated host based out of Nashville. Welcome to the show today.
Thank you.
So tell us, what are we doing here in Vegas? What was going on here? And I know that we're here learning a little bit about you, but what else is going on?
Well, Vegas, we're here strictly on business, Tony. We're not, no gambling going on, no fun going on. We're just here to do some business. No, we're out here at a little rest and relaxation. We're actually booked for a Tea Party convention.
Well, one thing I like doing and just getting to know people is trying to learn a little bit about their history. We're going to talk about some of the opportunities for other people to get involved in what's going out in the 72 markets you're involved with. But tell us how you got here, Phil. Where are the beginnings of Phil Valentine?
Well, as far as talk radio, I did music radio for many years, and in the early 90s, I tried my hand at talk radio and liked it, and so I decided to get into it full time. As I tell people, how many times can you play Michael Bolton over and over again? So, we decided to do talk radio full time, and then decided with our oldest son was getting ready to start kindergarten, and we had to decide where we're going to plan ourselves. The goal is to get this show syndicated out of Nashville. It's really hard to do because people are looking at shows that are on the East Coast or the West Coast. We set our show up to be different in that we have a perspective of Middle America and the heartland of America, and that's where we roll from.
Well, let's talk a little bit about Philadelphia. You spent a lot of time there. What a great place when you start talking about the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence. Did you spend any time in some of the halls or go and see the bell?
Oh yeah, and that's of course that's the big tourist thing you do. But I made a point that because I was a visitor to Philadelphia before I was a resident, to go and see all of this and to drink all of this in, and I took people back, and I would go through the tours and I would listen to what they're saying about how we started this country. And people really don't realize, Tony, how important it was to these people that we start this country the way we did, and how much they risk. I mean, their lives and their livelihoods. We take a lot of this for granted, and I think that's the danger that we're in now. People have really become a little bit passive about what this country is all about, what this country means to the rest of the world. So what we've seen transpire in the last 18 months with the Obama administration is frightening to a lot of people who have been through Philadelphia and have really understood what happened with the Founding Fathers. And they know that we're getting off on the wrong road and it's time to change it. Some people just think this country has always been here and it's always going to be here. And when you realize how fragile our republic is, and how really relatively new it is, it can all go like that. And people don't understand that. And if they understand how fragile it is, if they understand that it can go in a blink of an eye, then I think people are going to be more apt to try to protect it.
Now, I look at the state of Tennessee, and one of the other issues I hear in your area, and I know it's happening in other states, is the state sovereignty issues. Right. You look at the 10th Amendment, and I see a lot of discussion going on those things. And really, the first founding states were thought of as the colonies that became states, and really had that 10th Amendment mean a lot to them.
Well, if you look at the Constitution as a contract, that's what it is. It's a contract between the states and the federal government. And anybody that knows contract law knows that what is not included is known to be excluded. So everything that is supposed to be the authority of the federal government is in the Constitution. Everything that is not is defined by the 10th Amendment to be under the authority of the states. So we came up with something when we were fighting the state income tax called the Valentine Doctrine. And that is the government is there to do only what the private sector won't, can't, or shouldn't do. And the same thing should apply to the federal government. The federal government's there to do what the federal government said it was going to do as far as the Constitution. The states are there to do the rest of it. And when it comes to the immigration reform and things like this, if the federal government is not living up to its responsibility to protect the borders and to keep illegal aliens out of the country, then the states have a responsibility to their own citizens to make sure their own citizens are safe from illegal aliens. So that's what Arizona has done. That's what other states are going to do when they follow suit on this. Obama administration saying, don't follow what Arizona did. Well, this could not have come at a better time for conservatives to have the federal government sue a state over upholding a federal law. What their argument is that they don't have the authority to enforce or change a federal law. Well, what are the sanctuary cities doing? They're changing a federal law. So instead of suing the sanctuary cities like San Francisco They're going after Arizona that's actually upholding the law. It's ridiculous. And I think that people are going to see that. By wide margins, people agree with what Arizona's been doing, and I think that's going to show up in the polls.
Where are you finding your audience growth as we see the industry changing today, both on who's coming to you to talk to you, but also the audience?
Well, the audience is an interesting thing because some talk show hosts make the mistake of thinking that their callers are their audience, and that they're not the same. You're going to have a lot of the same callers. You know, if you do this long enough, you're going to get some of the same people that love to call. And you're going to have people that have listened to you for 10 years who have never, ever called a talk show before, but they're out there. And that's most of them. They tell me about 1% of the people that listen to talk radio are actually going to ever call a talk show. So you got to understand that 99% of the folks out there are the people that you need to be programming to. If you start programming to the callers and let them drive the agenda, they have a place. You know, I came from music radio, and I like to equate them as they're the records. I'll talk for a while, and then we'll play a record. Instead of playing a record, we'll take a call. But it's part of the show. It's not the show. You know, the show is about some of the callers, but the show is about some of our guests. It's about my spin on things. It's all, you know, it all comes in to make the show. So the audience and the callers are different. But as far as the newsmakers now, you know, I get newsmakers now coming to me wanting to talk about things and get their point of view out. And now it's really a matter of having to sift through all that because there's so many people who want to get in. And I have to be the gatekeeper on what I feel like is important to the listeners out there, and that's a tough job. But somebody's got to make that decision, and so we make the decision of who's going to come on. And so I think that's why people trust me to do this.
Are you seeing that the audience is more hostile, or have they changed over the years, or is there any type of tougher questions they're asking?
They're much more informed than when I started, when the internet was not what it is now. When you've got a tool like the internet where I can talk about something and they can go online and verify it or not, you've got much more educated people out there. That's why I think that the left has grossly miscalculated the Tea Party movement, because they think they're a bunch of redneck racist buffoons out there who don't know what they're talking about. But you start talking to some of these Tea Party folks out there about the Constitution, and they know more than the congressman does, and certainly more than some of these folks on the Supreme Court that are ruling on world court decisions and the French court and then baga baga boo boo or whoever's making the decision out there in the world. They're all about getting back to the basics because they knew that's when the country was working, and that's when the country was humming, and that's when all the brilliant ideas were coming out. Well, I don't really believe that the Founding Fathers were more brilliant than everybody we have now in this country. There are Thomas Jeffersons still out there. There are George Washingtons out there today. They've got to refocus on what this country is about and why it's here. So this is a retro movement with the Tea Party. They want to get back to the basics, and that's what we're trying to do. And they see us going down this road. And it's not a matter of when you're going down the wrong road as far as socialism is concerned. You don't cut across and start going, you know, overland and try to figure out where the real road is. You back up and go back to where you got lost. And that's what they want to do. They want to back up to where we got lost and then go down the right road. And that's what the Tea Party movement's going to do. It's about going back and getting back on the right path. And to me, Tony, and this is a harsh thing to say because it really rubs some people the wrong way. Capitalism and this country are joined at the hip.
Yes, they are.
If you're anti-capitalist, you are by definition anti-American. So the Michael Moores out there can say how much they hate capitalism, but what they're saying is they hate this country because this country is founded on capitalism. This country thrives on capitalism. This is not a socialist country. It was never designed to be a socialist country.
Correct.
And so these people who relish turning this country into a socialist country want to fundamentally change the country. As they said, we want to fundamentally change the country. What they want to do is fundamentally destroy the country brick by brick. And we can't let that happen.
And one of the areas I think is important is our youth, and educating our youth and what's going on. What can we do to really engage them? And I think the Valentine Army might be a great start.
Oh, it's going to be a wonderful start too in HD. So, but not only they can do that, they can be a part of it. I mean, that's the beautiful part of this is that you can get people out there. We can arm them with a camera, and now they have that power that the networks have. You know, the networks are losing their influence day by day. I mean, the fewer and fewer and fewer people are going there because they're becoming more and more irrelevant.
Well, I'm Tony Loicono with TeaPartyHD, and you heard a lot here today with Phil Valentine. And you know, one of the things that we want to see change in this country is getting back to the basics, as Phil, you've just talked about. And we want to thank you for spending time. Become part of the Valentine Army out there in one of those 72 markets that Phil is out there telling the stories and talking to people that are making a difference in this country and debating the issues that are important to each one of you. So thank you very much, and thank you today, Phil.
Thanks, Tony. Appreciate it.
Thank you.